Hello everyone, we are Team Madre and our purpose is to help Madre, which is a non-profit, acquire more volunteers and expand. I'm Polina Bogdanovich and I will start this presentation with a brief introduction to our report. Next, Samantha Trond will talk about the primary data collection procedures and the additional secondary data. Landry Edwards will cover the primary research data analysis. Then Hannah McGovern will discuss the secondary data collection procedure. And finally, Dylan Beeler will cover the findings and recommendations to Madre. I will end this presentation with a general conclusion. I will begin with an introduction to our clients and to the problem we investigated. Madre is a local nonprofit which strives to help young Latinas have promising futures. Its purpose is to help Latinas get access to secondary education and to reduce dropout rates. To address the current needs of their clients and to expand, Madre must increase its volunteer base. More volunteers will help the organization expand, reach out to more young women, and provide fast and effective answers to their needs. We collected primary data among St. Edward's University students, which includes undergraduate students, graduate students, and new college students, because those groups are assumed to be the most likely to be potential volunteers. We also looked at several sources of secondary data. Now I will let Samantha cover the primary collection procedures.
As Paulina stated, my name is Samantha Tron, and I will be talking about the primary data collection procedures. The selection process included surveying students in the local Austin area where Madre is established. These students were undergraduate, graduate, and new college students at St. Edward's University, and the characteristics of the student body included a younger age range that could be potential mentors to the kids at Madre. The sample size and method consisted of 215 students on the St. Edward's campus. We chose this number to account for any invalid surveys. With a larger sample size, the data considered also has a higher level of confidence. The access to participants. Team Madre gained access to the student population through in-class distribution as well as various on-campus organizations such as Harper Radio and Student Life. Design of the surveys. The design of the surveys included a variety of questions and to find the demographic information on student volunteers and the mediums which they rely on to select the organizations they volunteer for. Team Madre also added a question to consider students that would have an interest in serving as a tutor or mentor. This question also connected directly to Madre's mission statement. The purpose of the survey. Because Madre is a growing organization, they need more volunteers. They are also competing with other organizations in the Austin area for these volunteers. Because of this issue, Team Madre made specific surveys that cater to Madre's needs. Now I will pass it off to Landry Edwards to talk about the primary data collection analysis.
Hi, so as you said, I'm Landry and I'm covering the primary research data analysis. And so in order to maintain the 93 confidence interval necessary for data collection, we distributed 215 surveys to St. Edward students. 200 were returned and were valid, and they were all eligible for data collection. We wanted the data to include college students who had volunteered in the past in order to present proper data to the client that would be beneficial to their volunteer rates. And so Dylan and I tallied the survey responses together. Every answer was selected and included in the tallying to express every student interest. And so our data showed that volunteer fairs and word of mouth are the most effective methods for promoting volunteer organizations toward undergraduates, and that they are likely to recommend their volunteer organization. And also the graph showed that weekend days are the best times for half of the undergraduates to volunteer, and the other half of the population is split evenly between the three remaining times. So given the significant information, the survey successfully furthered the research objective by providing insight in undergraduates' volunteer selection and purpose. So now Hannah will talk about secondary research.
So today we're talking about our secondary research. In conducting secondary research, Team Madre investigated several key subject areas, such as general statistics about nonprofit organizations throughout the country, as well as those concentrated within the Austin area. We focused on these areas in order to allow for more precise comparisons with other organizations for Madre, to aid them in creating more targeted recruitment efforts, as well as increasing their volunteer rates in general. The first organization that we looked at was the National Center for Charitable Statistics, which is an information clearinghouse for the nonprofit sector that seeks to provide quality data about nonprofit organizations. That includes informative statistical data about nonprofits. And this statistical data is very important to Comi Madre in providing a base of comparisons for successful budget practices, activities, as well as expenses for other volunteer organizations. The second organization that we looked at was the Corporation for National Community Service, which is a federal agency that works with community outreach in the United States. And basically, the National Center for Community, or the Corporation for National Community Service, provides an overview of volunteering trends in the Austin area, such as the volunteer hours per resident, the number of volunteers by age, and the organizations for which most residents volunteer. And this also aided in the development of targeted volunteer recruitment methods. The third organization that we looked at was the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is a division of the United States Department of Labor, and is responsible for monitoring labor activities and working conditions in the economy. The BLS provided a comprehensive summary of volunteering within the United States and also offers an annual report on volunteering and charts detailing the most frequent volunteer activities and the amounts of time specific to each activity. And this helped our team understand the American attitude towards volunteering, as well as the amount of time a typical person has to dedicate to volunteering. And this allowed us to develop more accurate estimates for expected time commitment from future volunteers for Comi Madre. And now I'll pass it off to Sam to discuss our additional secondary research.
Once again, my name is Samantha Tron, and I talked about the additional secondary research. Team Madre conducted this additional secondary research after analyzing the results from our surveys. According to civicyouth.org, organizations which involve the youth will attract the greatest number of volunteers. This finding was shown in our data through question number 4, which asked the students what are the interests that they would volunteer with. The answer to this question showed the majority of students was 83 who wanted to volunteer with the youth. And then according to a second source, the New York Daily News, more schools are actually forcing students to volunteer as an educational requirement. One program which enforces this study is the New York City Service Initiative program, which requires schools to provide students access to service and volunteer programs. This finding was also shown in our results through question number 5, which asked, what are the students' reasons for volunteering in the past? The answer to this question showed that the majority of the students, which was 84, have volunteered in the past as an educational requirement. Now I'll pass it off to Dylan to talk about our findings and conclusions.
Upon analyzing our primary research, we concluded the following. The most effective information channels for spreading knowledge of a volunteer organization are volunteer fairs and word of mouth. The most popular volunteerism interests are causes related to youth and animals. The most common reasons for volunteering are personal satisfaction and educational requirement. 2/3 of the undergraduate population have an interest in tutoring and mentoring. And most of the undergraduate population volunteers at least once a month, and that includes the students that volunteer at least once a week. About half of the undergraduate population prefer to volunteer on weekend days, and the rest are split evenly between weekend nights, weekdays, and weeknights. Undergraduates are split evenly between willingness to travel 1 to 5 miles, 6 to 10 miles, and 11+ miles to volunteer. And finally, 2/3 of undergraduates are likely to recommend an organization that they volunteered with. After doing some additional secondary research, we found that the Corporation for National and Community Service, which is a U.S. federal government agency, encourages business firms to sponsor local youth mentoring programs. With such respected programs as AmeriCorps and Lead and Serve America, Comi Madre would benefit from aligning with one of those programs, the CNCS. According to the BLS, the most popular day for U.S. citizens to volunteer is Sunday. So Comi Madre could benefit from concentrating more efforts to reach people on Sundays. And finally, according to the Daily News, national statistics show that schools are continuing to adopt that practice of requiring their students to volunteer. With that in mind, the team came up with a couple recommendations for Condi Madre. First, the team believes that Condi Madre should establish a relationship with St. Edward's SERVE program. This would give them access to a sizable and valuable group of student volunteers. The SERVE program promotes understanding of and working with local social justice issues. The team also suggests that Condi Madre foster a closer-knit community among current volunteers through team building events such as monthly community dinners and group retreats. The team believes that Condi Madre should begin launching targeted advertisements for weekend volunteer positions based on the greater student availability during the weekend days that we found and the national statistics. Condi Madre does have a strong online social media presence, and so we would suggest they pursue some alternative advertising methods. The team also proposes that Condi Madre further involve student communities in their organization by targeting university nonprofit fairs like our nonprofit and volunteer fair. St. Edward's hosts this fair at the beginning of each semester, and it's a venue for nonprofits and our university-sponsored service organizations to promote their cause. And finally, we recommend that Condi Madre maintain a strong focus on the impact that the organization has on the lives of Latina youth. St. Edward students want to make a difference, and they're eager to align with causes whose works are dynamic and have a real effect. With that, I'm going to pass it off to Paulina to wrap it up.
Today, Samantha covered the primary data collection procedure by describing the survey distribution process. Landry covered the primary research data analysis, and he showed us the most important graphs. Then Hannah talked about the secondary data collection procedure and the several sources we used, such as the National Center for Charitable Statistics, the Corporation for National and Community Service, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And finally, Dylan covered the findings and recommendations to Condi Madre. We came up with the conclusion that Condi Madre should expand their target volunteer base to include a larger number of universities in the Austin area. Thank you for your attention today, and please let us know if you have any questions.